It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. So welcome to Mind Your Business.
All right.
I'm your host, Jamillah Lodge, and you are Aymori Duncan. And we're going to be talking about your business that you founded, Food Justice Forum.
Well, two, because another one's going to be coming out, Catch of the Day.
So
both.
We're going to talk about both of them?
Yeah, because one's going to be launching around the same time, and they link one and the other. So.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right, well, tell me about your journey to establishing these businesses.
Okay, well, my journey, coming back to Bermuda probably about almost 3 years ago, I realized that food was very expensive, and I was just wondering, can people actually afford it? And from doing some investigation and further investigation, I thought that it would be a viable option to create a mobile application. And on looking into the whole journey and seeing the gaps and issues regarding that, there came to a realization that there needs to be a lot of policy changes regarding food, how we give food, what guidance we can give to people who would like to give food, to businesses, to charities, and to the public in general. And then there's a bit of an issue regarding accessibility. If somebody is in a vulnerable situation, what will they do? Where do they find places to go, and how? So looking at everything all together, I realized I can create only so much of an app, but then there needs to be a drive for a policy change regarding food.
So are you intending to be that driver of policy change?
Yes, if I got to put my my mouth to my words, gotta put some action into it. And then I already looked and discovered some gaps. For example, Public Health and Safety Act is about 50 years old. There's a lot of different international standards regarding what we could do with policy change, and not a lot of people understand what the Samaritan Act is, which is an act that came into Bermuda that allows people to give food without vicarious liability. But the issue with that is, do people know exactly how to use it? What intricacies are there? I found out that you can only do it if you're a commercial business. But if you're a member of the public and you give bananas to somebody, example, and they are allergic to that strain of banana, you can get fined.
Right.
You can be punished. So these are things that we need to educate and understand and just have a clear best practice.
So I didn't know that, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know that because we give food all the time.
Exactly.
Like, I have friends who have a garden. They give me their food, but I never think if something happens to me, then I'm going to hold them responsible for giving me the food for free.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a difference between what's actually enforced, because I don't believe that that's been enforced.
Yeah.
However, with my understanding of what I would like to do with the mobile application, that could be an issue. And it just depends on who's actually won. Well, for me, I would have just said that it would have been the Samaritan Act is, and you just give however you give. So,
right.
However, I think that it's just responsible, and it's a duty to also have a clear guidance on what to do and how to.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So take me through what the app is supposed to do. Explain that to me.
So the app. So there's going to be two tranches of the app. First tranche is going to be pretty much you're able to see food that, for example, if there's a BDC event, and you guys have loads of food left over.
Yeah, we always do.
You can just click on an add donation button. You add that donation, it's clearly visible, and anyone within the public can message you and come get it, depending on what features you put. So you can put a tiny description. You can say, I'm available at this time, and it's just out there displayed, and somebody will be able to see where it is by your geolocation.
Okay.
So that's really simple way. Another way is this, looking at accessibility regarding food banks and charities. There's tons, but not a lot of people, unless you do further investigating, know where everywhere is. If you're somewhere like St. George's, you might have a little bit of options you might not know compared to being somewhere like Hamilton, knowing that there's the Salvation Army. Everybody knows it in work. There's lots of Doolittle, but there's a lot of other little pockets, a lot of little churches that people, if they're in a bad situation at that time, won't know.
Right.
And just within the app, you can pretty much see all the food banks there, and
when they give out,
when they give out, what capacity they have, and reserve immediately. It's just a simple solution.
Okay.
Another feature is this, that when it comes to food banks and even restaurants, you have a feature where you can donate, and in a restaurant, if you can see that restaurant there and it's got some allocated donations, you can just get that meal a pay it forward type of scheme. So the restaurants get some profit. You're able to, if you're in a vulnerable situation, you're able to get a meal, and then you have that dignity rather than actually just staying out in the corner.
Right.
And people know that donation is going to go for good.
Okay. So people purchase the food at the restaurant on your behalf, and you come collect it?
You just come collect it, yeah.
Okay.
And you can donate to charities as well, and then you can be a volunteer for a charity just by clicking that button. They can accept and reject. So these are easy ways that you can just give back to the community very simply.
Right. So this is great.
Yeah.
And like you said, people do have issues with food security and where they're going to get their next meal, and food especially is expensive in Bermuda, right? Because we import most goods. But how are you going to make money? Is this a nonprofit endeavor, or is it a social enterprise?
Well, the Food Justice Forum will be completely nonprofit.
Okay.
The mobile application, because I don't know where it's going to go, will be a social enterprise.
Okay.
And currently, it's not going to be a model of making profit. It's just going to be just circular. However, later on, it could be. And I think that fluidity and that ability to change in the market is pretty much what's needed. And it just depends on where it's going to grow eventually.
I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to finance this endeavor.
And the second stage of the app will be to add food that is about to be thrown away.
Okay, and is that where Catch of the Day?
Both of these features are within Catch of the Day.
Okay.
And that second feature will allow you to either get food, if it's about to be thrown away, asking the question, can you still eat it? Is it consumable? And then second question is this, if it's not able to be eaten, can you repurpose it? So, example, can it be made into jam?
Right.
Can it be made into a banana pie? Can it be made into guacamole? And then afterwards, can it be made into compost? So those are the things that I'm figuring out as we go and speak.
Interesting. Now, we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to give you an opportunity now, but tell me about your background.
My background, and in the sense of...
So, what did you do before you came back to Bermuda?
Okay,
how did you get here?
All right, sure. Well, left Bermuda at around 14, 15. Lived in the UK, studied UK, then I moved to Brussels, Belgium, and I was working in EU communications and policy. So that is pretty much everything from doing press releases to writing articles regarding policy to web development to even creating apps. So these are all the experiences that I gained. It's quite well-rounded, and I thought, I can actually just, let me see if I can do something for Bermuda and food, because I see it as a big thing. And part of what I was doing was actually policy regarding the circular economy, which means that how you can actually repurpose something instead of throwing it away.
Okay.
If it's going to be food, if it's going to be a building, if it's going to be even a phone, these things, they might not necessarily need to be thrown away.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, I think if you're talking about actual items, I think the resale market in Bermuda is very high because we have so many people coming in and out. So you do see it, like it's happening already with sites like Emu and other things like that, where I no longer need it, but perhaps someone else does. So is that kind of what you were thinking when you were developing your app?
It was more of a social purpose, because if you're someone like Marketplace or Lindo's or Miles, it costs a lot. And I've looked at the supply chain. It costs a lot to bring food over. And then you're going to lose quite a big portion of that, and that's going to be your dollar, not theirs, just to bring it over to Bermuda. also it's got to be a certain quality just to make it to Bermuda as well. So my pocket when it comes to this app and policy regarding the Food Justice Forum is to see that small little gap where there is actually food that isn't quite expired, and you might throw it away. Asking the questions, okay, what does this label actually mean? Do you need to throw it away if it's a can of beans that could be given 17 years later? Or if it's something like fish that's just been out there for the whole day hot, maybe you need to throw it away. But having that understanding of what's thrown away and what's not, and allowing the public to actually be able to buy those type of things at a cheaper price. And if they can do that, then even for small businesses like the underutilized kitchen program in BDC, if you can buy things that would have been thrown away, but it's perfectly good that somebody can use for your ingredients, maybe you're making low-quad jam,
Right.
then that could cut into the price, because that price of food being thrown away cuts into the retailers, the big the wholesale market, but it also cuts into the Bermudian market as well. And by just utilizing the food that's already there, that could be a 20% gap.
So who would you define your customer as?
Customer, I think it will be different phases. So there's 3. One would be, initially, it's going to be everyday person in Bermuda, and then charity. But then as the app develops, it will be businesses as well. And they have different metrics. So when it comes to everyday person, how much you've actually saved, or how much donations you've made, or what events you're actually going to, which would be a food bank event, and were you able to actually do that? When it comes to charity, your metrics when it comes to social impact, whether you're how many donations you've received, how many events you've had, what type of impact you've made to the community, whether or not you actually turn up on time or not to a supplier that's just giving food away. So these things are different from them. And then for businesses as well, like how much money you're actually making constantly. So these metrics will be placed depending on which customer's actually there.
Right. So in my mind, I'm thinking, is there an opportunity, or do you envision the grocery stores being one of your customers? Because I'm thinking, well, they have food that is about to go off all the time, and I'm assuming that right now they just throw it away.
Well, I would say this, that it's not necessary that they throw it away, all of them. And different grocery stores have different things, but it's not actually, when they're giving, it's not actually really broadcasted or shown.
Okay.
And but then it's not necessarily about whether they're giving or not. It's about accessibility and people knowing. So if you don't know how to get food, even if you're a charity, a new charity or food bank, and you don't know where you can go, or if you're a person and you don't know where you can go to get food, then it's pretty much secretive, and it's only on a person know, person tell basis. And having that accessibility is what's needed. The only issue with the app and accessibility is whether or not people have access to the mobile phone, and I'm doing my best to actually get that. But then
apparently we probably have like one of the highest percentages of people who actually have.
Well, it's not necessarily
devices.
Just about mobile phone. It's about data as well. So working with the mobile companies to make this a free app. But then when it comes to accessibility, working with charities and ensuring that there's a best practice in business as well, so that people understand and know, one, what to give, but then how to actually administer food is something that's going to be needed. And that's what I'm looking to do.
So how are you facilitating this? I would imagine you have to collaborate with a lot of different organizations. Yeah. So can you talk a little about the collaborations you've made to date, the partnerships?
What I've actually done, I've spoken to quite a few people. One in the, some people call it the third sector, charity space.
Yeah, right.
So they were the first ones. So people like Eliza Doolittle, like the Nonprofit Alliance, like Home, were very insightful. One, on what my app could be and the Food Justice Forum, and then 2, what I might need to change and pivot to make it for the Bermudian market. And often you might have an idea initially, but then what's your environment, what's your surroundings regarding it? So it made me jump to the conclusion, one, that there is a need regarding food policy itself, and then two, there is a need with regards to accessibility. And I'm trying to plug those gaps as we speak.
Okay. So in terms of the app, what should we expect in terms of a ETA or a launch, or what is your goal for trying to make
ETA?
this
Sorry.
estimated time of arrival?
Okay. Well,
sorry about that.
yeah. Because I was thinking MVP, but ETA, like, all right, yeah.
One of those.
Okay. So, well, firstly, what I'm going to be doing on September 30th this week, there's going to be a chef competition for those 15 to 30 years old. And it's going to be at the Lauren. And basically it's introducing the concept of repurposing food.
Cool.
And that it's open to the public. You can get tickets just so that we can gauge capacity, but it is pretty much free. You can just turn up on Monday, anytime between 4 or 5 till 7:38. And we are looking to, just show with a chef in the box competition that instead of actually throwing away food, a mystery box competition, that instead of throwing away food, you can make delicious dishes. And giving people that are junior chefs that are around 15 to 30 the opportunity to just show that they care about sustainability as well as the culinary practices in itself. And that will lead up to 2 events regarding Food Justice Forum. One looking at food waste, and the other looking at food insecurity. And I realize regarding food, and which is why the Food Justice Forum is in place, why I'm enabling it now, that there isn't just the issue of, say, food waste or food insecurity and just putting it in 2 sectors like that. But you have to think of things like farming, the environment, homelessness, mental health, nutrition, public health and safety, labeling. So, and then these aspects, I'm not an expert in all of them, or even any of them, I would say, because you learn something new every day. So just getting other people's interpretations regarding that, regarding shipping, regarding health and safety, and being able to get a consensus regarding them in a lead up to creating a food policy is important. And I wouldn't say that it would be a blame or an issue regarding government, but just getting people, government or opposing governments or whichever party, but just getting people in a room together and allowing them to talk about it, and allowing all parties, because it's around election time, to get that information based on those events and say, okay, well, what do you think, and how would you actually do something based on the information you just received?
So have you been able to do that to date, or is that in the works?
It is in the works. It's basically in the works in October as well.
Okay.
And in October, not just those events, one tackling food. Well, it could either be one event tackling both, but it's a lot of topics. So 2 events, one tackling food insecurity and one tackling food waste, will seek to actually be the spark, the catalyst for food policy whilst I launch my app.
Okay. So the information or data that you receive from those sessions will help you to develop what goes into the app, or
no, it's more
will confirm what you think you already know.
It's more actually allowing people, because I'm trying to provide a solution, but it's not the solution.
The only one.
It's not. No, it's not the only one. And I guess this would be a litmus test to see who would want to be involved as well with the Food Justice Forum, how they can actually contribute to a food policy, and then afterwards, the ideal vision is to have a white paper that includes just pretty much every aspect, because these opportunities don't always come. And it's a lot harder to make a change rather than to table something at the first initial time.
Right. Okay, so explain to me in layman's terms what the Food Justice Forum is.
Okay, in In layman terms?
Yes, just keep it simple for someone
Okay,
trying
I would say the easiest in maybe 1 to 2 well, one sentence, maybe a few words,
Okay.
is a guidance on giving.
Okay.
So, and then in a full sentence, it would say, full of Bermudian food policy, trying to look at almost every angle.
Okay. Related to food policy.
Related to food policy.
Okay. Now tell me what catch of the day is.
What Catch of the Day is, it is a app that allows you to have access to food.
Okay. However and wherever.
However and wherever, it's allowing you to have access.
Okay. And when you say access, it's free for the individual using it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's free for the individual using it. And it will be free for the charities. It will be free for the businesses. And for about 6 months, and then I'll be able to reevaluate from then on.
Right. Because I would imagine all of what you said seems like it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time on task to be able to pull all this information together, unless maybe you know something I don't.
Well, the information with regards...
Like finding where the food is, finding who has it, you already...
It's not that hard.
Okay.
Finding who... Because I know all the food banks within Bermuda.
Okay.
All the churches. The hard thing, I would say, is actually just onboarding.
Onboarding people onto the app.
Onboarding people to the app. So basically doing the marketing, allowing people to say, okay, this is here now, and then afterwards download the app. The hardest thing after that in the second stage is probably onboarding supermarkets and restaurants and just allowing them to put their products up. That's the hardest thing, but it's not going to be the first stage.
Right. So I think that's probably smart in my mind, because I think sometimes you need to have some sort of MVP, like you said, minimum viable product. So that those who are already in business, because I would imagine they'd be like, well, what's in it for me? Why would I do this? I already have somebody that I give whatever to. Why would I take the time to get on this app and all of that? What would your response to be to them if those are some of the questions that they have? Why should they do it?
I would say this. In October, you'll see how easy it is.
Okay.
And so basically, I'm doing it when it comes to the public.
Right.
And then you can be part of the public as well and just add a donation.
Right.
You know, so it's just literally click of a button, a few words and a picture all at the same time, and then you just upload. And then someone messages. Just you. It's not hard.
Listen. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, because when you think about the work, I'm using a grocery store.
Of course.
They got to move inventory, get inventory. So everybody already has a job, already has a role. So how are you going to convince them to take a little bit of the time out to do what you just described?
Now, that is the harder part.
Right.
And that is the part where I already know where I want to go.
Okay.
And what to do, because there's a difference between one compared to 1,000.
Right. That's right.
There's a huge difference. And then how much detail they want to give in that 1,000 or how much they don't want to give. But I think that first, just see that the app works and the public use it.
Right.
And then if it's anything from either an API and it's automatic, or if it's something like, okay, an Excel sheet and then it just verifies it, and looking at the settings, there's only a few supermarkets and restaurants here, really. So I can come there and customize it. Right. And
that's what I guess I was getting to. Is that something, a service that you would be offering?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not, for Bermuda, I'm not offering a software. What I'm trying to offer is a solution.
Okay.
And that's why the Food Justice Forum is in place as well, because it's not about just trying to sell something.
Right.
I always look at things in the framework of what's the problem.
Yeah.
And if there's a problem there and there could be other solutions other than mine, then why not figure that out as well.
So it's an opportunity for others who like-minded individuals,
Yeah.
right, who are interested in solving problems around food sovereignty,
Yeah.
to come together, have discussions,
Exactly.
brainstorm, come up with solutions. And are you working on the solutions together? Is that the goal?
That is the goal. That is the goal. And the goal is to just be able to take, not everybody's,
Yeah.
because you can't take everybody's, but being able to understand what perspectives are out there before actually creating something that could change the face of what Bermuda's food and the way that we actually eat, buy, sell, or throw away food could be.
Yeah. So I would imagine coming back to Bermuda, it's a little different
It is.
than Brussels or the UK.
It's different. It's different.
So how did you navigate that? What did you find to be probably the most challenging thing that you didn't expect to encounter when it came to setting up the forum and Catch of the Day?
I think that the most challenging thing is that people aren't real. Well, I have to think of things in the terms of Bermuda and what it is in its ecosystem.
Right.
It's very used to safety. It's a safe. It's a safe market. So they're not used to change. Or
Right.
Even when it comes to what the main source of income is, it's insurance and that or accounting, and those things are very safe, very mainstream industries. So when it comes to risk, it's a lot less. Well, it's a lot more risk averse than other places in the world, and I just have to actually think of that when it comes to the framework. So introducing something new, it's not necessarily the fact that it's actually better or worse that they'll be like, no, but it's more that
it's the unknown.
It's just unknown.
Yeah.
And here people aren't used to the unknown as much.
And so that's been a challenge for you.
It's probably been the biggest challenge. It's just,
well, how do you navigate that and stay on course? Because, some people, they're like, oh, yeah, we could do this. I see how it could benefit the community. But after you hear so many no's, or people are like, yeah, I'm not so sure, some people lose their way. How have you stayed the course?
I think that you, and probably you've heard this from other entrepreneurs as well, that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but you look for the opportunity that will make it happen.
Okay.
So you're not going to know all of the angles or what, but you need to have confidence in yourself that, okay, if it's a no, like for example, there was somebody, I was speaking to a business about the idea and everything, and they said, well, what happens if the person comes up late? Then we're just going to throw it away because we just don't have inventory. We don't.
Right.
And I just thought, all right, well, at first I was really dismayed. Then I thought, you know what? No, that's actually an opportunity. Reliability. All you have to do is press a button. Was this person on time or late? Or review them just like they review you when it comes to your service. And then, yeah, presto chango. You know that if somebody's coming to get food from you and they have like a 2-star rating, then they don't really turn up on time. Or they're rude.
Aymori, he said, "Are they rude?"
It's true.
So basically, you're saying, I envision that you get to decide who you want to give this food to. Then,
well, people have to. Like, for example, if just like if you're on Hitch or like a Uber, and then afterwards you have an experience with somebody that they showed up late, they were drunk or belligerent, and then you're gonna have a feedback that maybe I'm not really gonna be safe, or maybe I'm gonna be wasting my time with that person, and that should be the same probably of giving. You're not gonna want to give if somebody just is constantly unsafe for you, and then you're doing this out of your kind nature, right?
So then that begs, is there a way for you to monitor who's on the app, who's using the app, and if you have too many 2-star reviews, you get exited off the app? Like, is that something or no?
I don't think that's necessary, because if a 2-star rating is there, a 2-star rating's there, right? But there's going to be 2-star and there's going to be 5 stars, but it's your choice whether or not you want to actually give the food to somebody at the end of the day, right?
So it's not first come, first serve.
It can be. It can be. However, if there's going to be issues regarding safety, and then also there's going to be the opportunity for people to go to charities as well and food banks.
So that still exists.
So that's going to still exist, and that's going to have another best practice as well for people that do know how to facilitate that, and me understanding that process as I go to actually just see what can, because these models, they change with the circumstance. They don't necessarily, if they just stay set into one type of branch and it doesn't adapt, doesn't evolve, then it doesn't grow and develop with Bermuda.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, it sounds like this has been like a very, I want to say, fluid process of you receiving data, receiving information, and adjusting your idea or what you think this could be along the way. Am I speaking truth, or is...
Yeah, I think that, and probably even with BDC incubator that I went to as well, come to realize it's the journey.
Yeah.
And learning, and what mistakes did you make, and how, and did you learn your lesson? Did you not? And if not, then somebody might need to talk to you, because and I think that because we're in such a small environment in Bermuda as well, which is why it's risk averse, we're afraid to make mistakes.
Yes, hugely.
And that's probably the biggest thing.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to make mistakes.
That's awesome. And that's a whole different mindset, right? Yeah. Because I don't, like you said, you grew up outside of Bermuda, and I think you never experienced the negative ramifications of making mistakes, like life-changing ramifications of making mistakes that could happen in Bermuda.
I would say this. I experienced it. I know what it is in Bermuda. But I think that I knew what it was away as well.
Okay.
So I kind of I knew what Bermuda was coming back here. It's not like I didn't know. I did. It's pretty much zero until like all I could remember growing up was here.
Okay.
But regardless, you have one life to live, and I'm not.
Yes.
You know, and hey, it's. But I think that this environment and knowing that, people are afraid.
Yeah, they are afraid. I mean, I'm excited for you. I think that what you're doing is great. It is very much social entrepreneurship. The purpose and the things that you're doing have, I think, the community at large's best interest at hand, especially with inflation increasing and all that. The cost of living just day to day is going up. So if you're producing a solution to combat some of that, then of course you must be on the winning side, right? I would think
it could be.
I'm just know, but if it don't work,
if it doesn't work, at least I learn.
Yes, from it.
But I think that I'm learning anyway from it, and I wouldn't say I'm learning more about the app, or what I'm learning more about is Bermuda.
Yep. So let me end, or we can wrap up with this. So we're talking about the Food Justice Forum.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Catch of the Day, which is an app. So in 5 years, where do you see the Food Justice Forum? What is it going to be?
Ideally, what I would want it to be is something that has a model of food policy and an ecosystem regarding food policy that can and is emulated across other small nations.
I love that.
So not necessarily the big ones, but
where this is a challenge.
Where this
food
is a challenge.
Is
so
a challenge.
Like places like Bahamas, like Martinique, just other places as well, and then it's not just about me doing this. It's just other people thinking, okay, I have other ideas, and let's actually take that and bring that to other small nations as well.
Awesome.
And apart from that, September 30th, the Lauren.
Yes.
Just go to thefoodjusticeforum.com, and then afterwards look in events, and you'll be able to find all the information regarding the Thrift Kitchen Throwdown.
Okay.
And you can volunteer, sign up, or just show up and compete as well.
That's awesome. And is this something that you're looking to continue?
Yes, and I think this is a test round. And basically, what subjects can we introduce regarding food and policy that's not necessarily just, all right, technical, but just other ways that you can actually see and try to reframe things. And I think that everyone says that back in the day when it comes to your grandparents, they did this anyway, but maybe something got lost along the way.
Could have been. Yeah, your focus shifted on something else.
And maybe there's something based on the problems that we have that we can actually bring back.
Love that. And catch of the day, what's it going to be in 5 years?
What's it going to be in 5 years? Oh, I don't know. I mean, hey, I kind of know
it's going to be on everybody's phone in Bermuda.
It's not necessarily just that, but it's probably going to, it's going to have a lot of AI involved with it. But that market's just changing so quick as well.
It is.
But I've already got plans for it. But still, it's going very fast.
Okay. So October is what we...
October. Okay. It's going to come out. Yeah.
Well, you have to come back and tell us how it went, the Thrift Kitchen
Throwdown. So
Kitchen Throwdown.
It's pretty much, like when you have vintage clothes, you're just thrifting.
Yeah.
So, but you're just doing that in the kitchen.
You're figuring out another way to reuse loved items.
Loved items.
Yes.
And then just make them reloved,
Yeah. I love that. I do that every day at my house when I look at my fridge and I'm like, I got to throw these things together.
Do you really need to throw them out?
Right. What can I make?
What can you make?
Yep. Something that the family loves. Well, love to have you. Thank you so much for joining us for Mind Your Business. Just for one last time, just say where people can find out more.
Well, 2 websites. So foodjusticeforum.com.
Okay.
Just go to the events and you'll be able to see it, or maybe you might see it on social media as well. So just click there and see if you would like to join. And then catchoftheday.io. It's got a timer, and soon the app's going to be launched.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it, Aymori. Thank you so much for minding your business with me today. And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Who will? So I'm going to mind mine. You mind yours.
I love it.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.